Will Lincoln IT help to advise how to share?
Yeah, sure, sure. Maybe because I don't know much about these IT things and all,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
Teams.
They're supposed
Mm,
to help.
very
There
good.
is some in SharePoint after okay, video maybe it's a bit difficult. Sometimes there are some conditions that the organization place. But like files, the other day a file usually there can be a link that can be made public if that is allowed. So there's some option to actually right click on the document and copy a link that does not require any emails or anything. So it's a public link. So when the link is shared, then those outside the organization can view. But by default, usually if a document is shared from SharePoint, it's only within the organization. So the staff who logs in with their account can see. That's the default behavior.
Okay. Just guide me and actually Day is also here. She knows much of the IT things. So
Okay.
after the class, I can ask her just directly to send you and also study from her.
Okay.
Uh, okay, anyway, I have start recording, right? Yeah. So we'll start today's class. Can we?
Yeah, okay, fine.
So today's our topic is still in the introduction, concept of health and disease. Uh, I think in the last semester also we had done a bit from here and there in this regard, but this time we have to go a little further from that because the next topic we are going to deal with is with epidemiology and a lot of concepts that we say here, not concepts, the terms we say here that will be coming in the coming up topic in the epidemiology chapter. So we'll go in detail about the concept of health and disease. So initially we'll be saying about what we mean by health, the definition of health, what is meant by the concept of health, and there are other terminologies like dimensions of health, determinants of health. So what are the differences between these, what these things mean? And then we go to the concept of disease also. What are the different spectrum of disease? Even we have a spectrum for health also. So spectrum for disease, and then its definition, the disease causation, certain models which show the development of disease, and then finally, what is the concept of health and disease in a homeopathic manner. So that's how this topic will be going. So, regarding the concept of health, as the people were advancing their knowledge, the world was continuously changing, new thoughts were coming up, and hence newer concepts of health also emerge. So these are the various concepts of health: the biomedical concept, the ecological concept, the psychological concept, and holistic concept. So when we go one by one, we'll see that as the world was evolving, each concept came up. So biomedical concept was just health means absence of disease. If you don't have any disease, and disease actually at that time, this is a previous concept, the initial concept. So at that time, the concept was a disease means something that you are having a ill health or something that is very obvious. You are having a fever, some physical symptoms are there, and obviously, which means it's an infectious disease or organism should be there. So that was the concept, biomedical. A germ or a infectious organism is behind that disease. So in this concept, which was a very preliminary type of concept, health meant absence of disease. And the basis was germ theory of disease. Germ theory of disease was the idea of Louis Pasteur and also Koch, the two pioneers in microbiology. So this concept view human body as a machine and disease as some consequences of breakdown of this machine. And doctor's task was to repair the machine. So when this was the concept they had about health, that there should be some disease, and that too infectious disease, a microorganism lurking behind that disease. This was the concept. There were some limitations. So in these limitations, one thing they were not able to explain then what is the concept behind the chronic diseases, because in chronic diseases we don't have microorganism, the concept of accidents and the conditions following the accidents, drug abuse, mental illness, environmental pollution, malnutrition. So these things they were not explained, able to be explained by a biomedical concept, because this definitely, I mean, this only saw the disease as in a infectious basis. And this concept also minimized the role of environmental, social, psychological, and other cultural determinants of health. They didn't give importance to the environment, how the society or the psychological factor or cultural factors, how it affects the health. Because in that time, the knowledge about disease was very, very a preliminary one. Then there is a evolution, or the knowledge is increasing. So people came up with a ecological concept. And ecological, the term that means or indicates environment. So they started seeing that health is actually a dynamic equilibrium between man and his environment. So man and environment, two different factors, they have to be in a equilibrium. And that is very dynamic, as like we see, it is not that obvious, but there is a dynamism that is occurring between man and his environment. And any problem with this equilibrium, where the man finds a maladjustment with that environment, then that is going to result a disease. So that was the ecological concept, giving importance to the uh, influence of environment on human health. So this concept supported the importance of clean air, safe water, clean atmosphere, etc., to protect the human beings from diseases. The third concept was psychosocial concept, where they started feeling like they should give importance. They means the people who were studying, the scientists who were studying about this health, all those things. They started giving importance. No, there is an influence of society also on diseases, and also the mind also, how the mind, the mental health also that influences the health. So that also included economic and political factors. And what are these things that we'll go into detail later. So they started giving importance to this psychosocial concept of or the basis of the disease. And then as the evolution was going on, people understood that health is not just a division of all these three, a biomedical separately or ecological separately or psychosocial concept, but it should be a holistic one where all the four concepts are coming together. So disease is not just caused by some infectious organs or some maladjustment with the environment, or some cultural factors or psychological factors, etc. But it all come together in more or less different ratios and then results in a disease. So holistic concept was all the biomedical, ecological, psychosocial concept, everything added together. Holistic concept implies that all sectors of society influence the health of an individual. For example, agriculture, animal husbandry, food industry, education, housing, public works, communication, and other sectors. So, how agriculture means if there is a famine or if there is a drought, that will be affecting the agriculture. There will be food shortage, which can result in malnutrition, and in children it can result in protein energy malnutrition disease, that is marasmus and kwashiorkor. And in pregnant ladies, the food famine is going to affect their health. It can result in infant mortality. So everything we could connect like that. It is not that agriculture, oh, it is apart from health. We could never say that. When we go to the next factor, animal husbandry. Animal husbandry, we depend on animals for many of the things that we use. The domestic animals, the for the milk, egg, all the dairy products. So any infection or any zoonotic disease on these animals, for example, bovine tuberculosis which is seen in cattle. So that can be spread to human being if we are using the unpasteurized milk. Now that possibility is very less. We don't use unpasteurized milk generally. But if at all we are using, or any other zoonotic disease, it can come to human beings also. So we can't now exclude certain factors saying that health is just the human being and the diseases affecting him, but also it is coming from his environment. The environment is not just the physical environment we say, but also other biological factors. So now, though we have all these four concepts, uh, it is the holistic concept that we give importance to. So this is the same thing that is given in a framework. Now, going to definition of health, as according to WHO, it has given the statement that health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And this is a definition maybe you have been learning from your school days or previous years. So here, there is some acceptance even now to this definition of health, but there is some criticism also. So here we can see WHO has given importance to three concepts or three dimensions, and that dimension is physical, mental, and social well-being. So WHO in the year 1946, when they explained or when they defined health in three concepts in the physical level, mental level, and social well-being. So these were the three concepts that they gave importance to, and they told it is not merely the absence of any disease or any infirmity, but there should be a complete physical, mental, and social well being. There is a definition or there is an explanation what this well being also means, which will be coming later in the slides. And then the criticism that was faced mainly was this phrase that WHO used: health is a state of, and state means a temporary thing, or temporary, or like it is existing for that particular moment. That is what we mean by state. Like water, when it is solidified, it is becoming ice. So that is the solid state of water. But that is not its permanent state. When it is kept in a normal temperature, the ice is going to melt and it will become water. So then the state of water will become liquid. And if we are going to heat it, it is going to evaporate, making the state of water in a gaseous form. But that means the state is something that which is existing at that particular moment. When we change the moment, the state is changing. So according to this definition, when WHO used the term state, it meant something that is temporary. And then that was the main criticism that they faced, that health cannot be defined as a state. But you can see here, as like we use in homeopathic definition, they also have told that the criticism mainly is health is a dynamic concept. So we are having some similarity. Even this criticism came in 19 after to 1946, and our Hahnemann had put up the definition for health earlier itself in the 18th century itself, which is giving importance to that dynamic equilibrium. So, hence, in 1984, but setting apart that homeopathy concept for some time, going back to what happened, in 1984, because of this criticism, WHO brought a new concept of health. The same thing. It is a continuation of that sentence. The disease or infirmity is continuation from the extent to which an individual or group is able to realize aspirations and satisfy needs and to change or cope with the environment. So this gave a explanation that they are able to change or cope with the environment. So this is now it has gone into a dynamics phase, that it is not saying about a temporary thing or a small or a small period of state or something, but they are saying that to say that a person is in a complete health, all this should be there. Along with that, that particular person, individual or group They should be able to change or cope with the environment. So if, when their environment is changing, they also should be able to change or cope up with that environment. And then only there is a equilibrium that is existing between the human and the external environment. And why they should change to realize their aspirations and satisfied needs. Every group of human being, they are living, seeing some dreams, some aspirations, some wishes, that is their driving force in their life. So to realize all those aspirations and satisfy their needs, uh, when everything of this happens, only then we can say that a human being is perfectly healthy. So that was the definition initially given by WHO in 1946, and then in 1984 they came up with this complete explanation. Though this complete or new concept of the health, or new um, extension of the definition was brought in the year 1984, not much people know about this. Maybe because of ease of by hearting, we always study only this 1946 concept or the definition. We never go to this explanation or the extension of that definition. But anyway, that was also brought in the year 1984. And now, if you remember your organon text, um, Hahnemann's explanation, Ken's explanation, even Stuart Close explanation, everything on health is somewhat based, not exact terms that has been used, but somewhat on this line only. Even everyone that I told about the pioneers or the stalwarts of homeopathy, they explained health in the same manner. That the term that is used, higher purpose of our existence, that is in one of the aphorism. Uh, I think it is in the definition, higher purpose of our existence, in ninth aphorism itself, when Hahnemann was giving the definition for vital force. I don't know, maybe in that this one I have put that aphorism, but that term is higher purpose of our existence. That was the phrase used by Hahnemann. But what that higher purpose of existence, it means all our Kant and everyone I mentioned, they have given in their own explanation. And this is the explanation that WHO gave to realize aspirations and satisfy needs. And even our explanation go almost in the same manner, not the exact terms, but that. There is another term which is called as the positive health. Actually, when we take the spectrum of health, this is the whole spectrum which starts from a positive health and then it goes down towards the death. So, positive health, then we have a better health, then freedom from sickness, and then there is a demarcation, and then we are becoming sick. Initial at that stage, it is unrecognized when it is not like we are in an incubation period in case of an infectious disease or a stage, then we develop the symptoms. So it goes to the mild, severe, and sometimes cure or even death. So the spectrum of health, it starts from positive health, and we need to see what is positive health. So anyway, if health is what WHO told, positive health should be something that is beyond that, or something in the very maximum level. So positive health, we can see the proponent was Hippocrates. So even at that time, Hippocrates maybe in the AD, I don't know which century he was in. I don't remember. But even at that time, Hippocrates, he was the person who introduced this term positive health. But at that time, he gave importance to these factors. Like for him, positive health, it meant balanced diet, exercise that are essential for good health, and environmental changes have profound effects on the mind and body of a person, resulting in different types of diseases. During rainy or winter season, when especially that can lead to respiratory complaints, and during summer, mostly the GIT complaints. So the term, though introduced by Hippocrates, he had a very basic idea. He gave importance to balanced diet, exercise, and environmental changes. Uh, that if in equilibrium, it meant positive health. That was this idea. But now the positive health, that concept or that definition has completely changed. That definition has completely changed. Now they give importance to four factors. So, positive health now describe the health as a state beyond the mere absence of disease and predicts increased longevity. That means increased um, lifespan, decreased expenditure on health, healthy aging, and better prognosis while illness. So now the positive health concept is including these four factors, that one should have a increased longevity or lifespan, and in that lifespan, it shouldn't be like the person is sick at that time. When he is having increased lifespan, he should spend that period in healthy state also, like he should have decreased expenditure on health, and he should be, obviously it is a physiological process that we all human beings go through aging, but when he is going through, that should be a healthy aging. And if in case that person is having some illness, that illness should be having better prognosis. So each and every factor you can see, it is indicating that the person should be in a complete health. And if all these four come together, the increased longevity plus decreased expenditure on the health or healthy aging and also better prognosis when the person is ill, all these factors comprises positive health now. uh, Only then we can say that the person is having the highest level of the health or positive health. Now we go to the dimensions of health. So in health, we need to learn about three things. One is the concept of health, how we see health to be the concept. Dimensions is uh, how dimensions of health. Okay, I can see is explain you this with the help of an analogy. Like take the example of cooking, that we are cooking something and the final product is the. So a final product is something think like a food, whatever be that, whatever be that the final product is food. So we can see, we can explain what is the purpose of food or what does food mean each one of us. So some people may say food is something to satisfy our hunger. um, some can say that food is like something luxurious, or like not the basic food but always having such a luxurious food. Someone can say that it is to keep us in good health, free of disease, like that. Um, there are people who eat a lot. So sometimes back in India, we say that people are living for eating and not eating for living purpose. So the purpose of food, it changes for different people. We can see concept of health in that manner, how we are perceiving health, or the things, the different manner we are perceiving health, that will come into the concept. And dimensions of health will be, if you are going for a cooking competition, then the final product you made, maybe any food that you have been made, when the judges are going to analyze who is going to win the prize, they're going to keep so many criteria on what or how you have done that. So first will be regarding its appearance, its color combination, how you have plated it, how aesthetic it looks. So that will be one criteria. One criteria may be the smell or the fragrance that is coming from the food. Then the third criteria may be the actual taste, the different proportion of the things that have been used in it, whether it is sweety more or salty, or just on right proportion. So they are going to put mark for these various criteria, and then going to see it. So dimensions of health will also mean like that, those various view that we are going to see, or various criteria we are going to see health in. And then there is another term that is coming in health, that is the determinants of health. So in cooking, if you're again going to the analogy of cooking, when we made it, the taste, for example, uh, we are putting everything in proportion. Like all the spices we are putting, be it chili, green chili or red chili, or pepper powder, whatever, all the sauces that we are adding, everything is having a proportion. And it is according to that the taste will be coming up. So these factors that we add into it, how much time we are cooking it, how much quantity of water we have added, how much time we have fried it, how much oil we have used, whether it is shallow fry, deep fry, how long, all these factors, we can that make a complete food. We can compare that to the determinants of health, the factors that are affected. So this is how we view the various terms used in health, the concept of health, the dimensions of health, and the determinants. So how we are viewing the dimensions, when we say the person is completely healthy, already WHO gave the explanation that it is we are viewing the dimensions in social, mental, and physical well-being. But that was WHO's concept in the year 1946, and now we are in 2023. A lot of concepts has been added. So now, according to WHO, it was just physical, social, and mental, only three. But now all these three also had been added. Spiritual had been added. Emotional, even though we have mental over here, emotional has been given importance. So, earlier it was just intelligence quotient or IQ that was given importance. But now emotions are given a lot importance, and we say that people with high EQ, even if they don't have much IQ, but if they have a high EQ, emotional quotient, they will be more successful in life. They will be able to tackle their problems. That's what we say. So emotional and vocational. Vocational, another word that has been used for occupation. So these dimensions have also been added into it. So physical health, I have not given the heading over here, just a picture to represent. So physical health means the perfect functioning of the human body. All the organs of the body are of ideal size and also functioning normally. All the senses that are intact, pulse rate, BP, etc., are within normal ranges according to the age and gender. So, physically healthy means the body, the organs, all the tissues, even the cells, everything, and the functions, enzymes, hormones, everything that is physical related is working very finely and in a normal way according to age and gender. Then, regarding the mental health, it should be a state of balance and harmony between the individual and the surrounding world. The person should be having a self satisfaction, self confidence, happy, calm, and cheerful personality. And he or she shouldn't be governed by fear, anxiety, jealousy, worry, etc. And social life, every human being should be having the ability of making friendships which are satisfying and long lasting, finding satisfaction, success, and happiness in day-to-day tasks, living effectively with others, and showing socially considered behavior. Then these are the three concepts that was said by WHO also. The three other is the spiritual. So spiritual is a recent concept in health. It's very strange to think, like when we go to the Western world, Western in the sense UK, US. I'm not sure about US, but yeah, UK for sure. Many of them, they are living their religious status. They don't identify themselves to a particular religion nowadays. And I think similar is the change culturally that is happening in some other European countries also. But it is at that stage they have brought, the social scientists have brought a newer concept, that is the spiritual health in the concept of health. They give importance to the religious belief, value, principle, morals, which define our spirituality. So it is not the religion that they are giving importance, but the spirituality. Even the belief that even if you don't, or one person don't believe in God, but if they have a good moral that is coming from a spiritual attitude, then even that that is given importance, because most of our moral that comes from our spiritual belief. Does it belong to a particular religion or not, it doesn't matter, but that spiritual uh, belief in us, the thing that we shouldn't do, we should do, at that moral, it comes from mostly the people who are very spiritual. We can see the people who do some type of crime, criminals. If we are questioning them, they may not be having some idea about forget religion, even the spiritual thing they may not be believing. So the spiritual health, it helps to resolve both internal and external conflicts. So that is one reason why that have been introduced in the current era. Then it is the emotional state. It incorporates the ability to manage one's feeling. Mental health is more about knowing or cognition or intelligence, and emotional health, it means the feeling. So you know the difference. You are taking the case, even when we are evaluating the symptoms according to the in case taking, we know that we give more importance to the emotional things. The patients, whatever the patients say as I feel, those are the things that we give more importance to. And then in the mental itself, the second importance is given to the knowledge or intelligence. So mental health will be comprising those things, our knowledge, the cognitive activities, mathematical ability, calculations, by hearting, all those things, the studying, writing, all this cognitive activity, it will be included in the mental health. And then we have something called as I feel, or our emotions. How, and that's what actually help us to deal with the current problems, like even whatever the physical, not the physical, yeah, even physical, or the problems that go around us, how we tackle it, it is coming, or how it is affecting us, emotions become a part. Then occupational, vocationally well person seeks job that give personal satisfaction, enrichment, and enhance self-esteem. So these are the six dimensions that is given more importance, but then we have other dimensions also, like philosophical dimension, cultural, educational, nutritional, curative, preventive. But we are not going into details of this. The first six that we mentioned, that is being given more importance. Now we go to the next term, that is the determinants of health, or the factors that is going to affect. So the determinants of health, we can view it under physical environment, social and economical environment, and person's individual characteristics. So when we take this, these are actually, if the arrow is made vice versa, from the health to the opposite, then these things itself will become the concept, how we are viewing the health to be, uh, physically, how we see the physical dimension of health, the social and economical, that will come as the ecological concept. If we are going that way, the arrow direction, if it is been reversed, it will come towards the concept and the dimension. And now we are going for the determinants, how it affects cells, what are the factors, the different factors in each of these component which is affecting their health. So physical environment, it will be those things from the environment itself, but physically affecting, like the air, water, um, increased population, overcrowding, all this will be coming under physical environment. The social and economical environment, the social status we have, sometimes the places or the residential area we have, there are people who live in slums, people who live in villages, people who live in urban slum area, or crowded in a single flat. um, so the different social status also, they may be rich, mediocre people or middle class people, then a classification within the middle class, upper middle class or lower middle class, and then we have extremely poor people. So that social status is also going to affect health, the economical thing also. Then person's individual characteristics means that can be his age, gender, the genetic constitution, then his behavior like smoking, alcoholism, their food preferences, all these factors, how it is going to affect health, the factors affecting individually. So that means the determinants of health. Education, gender, health services. Oh, this is something that I didn't mention. Health services will come within this category, the social environment, the social support network, genetics, income, social status, physical environment, all these factors, how it affect health. So that we will be seeing in determinants of health. And before I go further, I want to make sure that you understand these three terminology that I used. What is the concept? What do you mean by determinants? And what do you mean by dimensions of health? Do you have any confusion with regard to that?
Oh, it's clear.
Okay. If anyone have any doubt, please ask, because this is an important part of this chapter, which is usually asked as a essay question actually, to mention about the determinants of health or the dimensions of health. And even here, and also back in India, I see students getting confused with these terms when it comes dimension and determinants. What this finally all these things means. That's why I use the analogy of the cooking. So from health, which is a dynamic concept actually, there is a limitation for our imagination. But when we keep an analogy of cooking, now I think you can better understand if the arrow from the health is going towards those things, the physical, everything, how we are going to view it, perceive it, then it becomes the dimension. And each factor within that dimension, how it affects in turn on the health, it becomes determinants. So it is the direction of that arrow which determines what we are saying about. So starting with the biological determinants, which is the individual characteristic of a person, the one that we told over here, person's individual characteristics. So we call that another term as the biological determinants. The state of health depends partly on the genetic constitution of a person. That's his nature. There are certain diseases which we are having a risk of developing just because of the genetic constitution we have. Like for example, if anyone in our family is having a cancer history, which shows that it is possible for me also to develop cancer. Likewise, diabetes, hypertension, so many things. The genetic constitution will determine whether that disease will develop in us or not. This genetic constitution is never altered after the conception. Like it is determined at that time itself. After to that, nothing can be changed. So some diseases from defective genes are sickle cell anemia, phenylketonuria, mental retardation, or Down syndrome, everything, all those things. So these things, and nowadays there are so many investigation studies being done in the genetic diseases or that category, the chromosome, DNA, all those that topic that scientists wants to find out remedial measures or medicines for these genetic diseases also, because they have almost covered. I can't say there is cure or remedy for all the diseases that is present in this world now, but still they have found out medicines or the therapy for most of the disease, whether it get cured or whether it is getting suppressed. That is second part of the story, but still they have find some of the other remedial measures. And so now a large part of the scientists are into those diseases which are not yet amenable to treatment. So that is the genetic diseases. So now they are making advancements in the medical genetics in form of genetic screening, genetic counseling, and gene therapy uh, to hope for the prevention and also the treatment of broad spectrum of diseases. So initially, when a child with Down syndrome is born, we were not able to know it prior, whether the baby, which is as a fetus, in the during the fetal age, whether the baby is having some type of malformation, anencephaly, spina bifida, which are very common, it can result in the death of the fetus also, or Down syndrome. We were never able to know at that time. But now there are various techniques, including amniocentesis, chorionic villi, um chorionic villi analysis. That's another term for that. Chorionic villi, some other term is used. That's a diagnostic test which they can use to analyze whether there is some abnormality, genetical abnormality for the baby, sorry, for the fetus. So if the parents, if they want to go for an abortion, they could go for that. If they don't want to have a baby with this much congenital deformities, they could go for that. So and they also have methods of genetic screening to, as I told, to diagnose these diseases beforehand. And if people who are having similar genetic diseases, if they are going to get married, or if it is a marriage within the family itself, then a kind of counseling could be given. What are the risk factors if they're going to bear offsprings? Should they have children or not? Like that, a counseling could be given, and also gene therapy, therapy that could be introduced for the treatment actually. So that gives a hope. How much it will be effective, how much it will be curative, we don't know, but that's like a ray of hope. If only now they start doing this, maybe 1 century later or maybe 50 years later, they would be able to solve these type of problems also, the genetic diseases also. Then the behavioral and socio-cultural determinants. Behavioral is actually our behavior, as I told you, our lifestyle, the customs, the values. But when I say my behavior, it's somewhat dependent on what I learned from my society, starting from my family. So what my family inculcated on me, that is a type of behavior that I am following. And then I added into it when I grew out of that house and I went into the society. My friends joined in and I started learning from them also. So most of our behavior, it's not we are inborn with. It is coming from the society we are in, the family, from starting from the family, from the society we are in. So we can never say about the behavioral determinants, even though it is personal, it is individual characteristic. There is some connection for these individual characters to the society also, the cultural beliefs also. There are people, like if we say smoking and alcoholism, whatever, the people who have started it, if I mean, can be of both sexes, but probably they would have started it when they were in their younger teenage, in their high school, or in the secondary school age, around 13 to 17 years. That might be the age they got influenced, and that too because of peer pressure. So our behavior, it's coming from the society outside, not just ours. Even food that we are eating, there may be some culture who would be okay with having any type of food materials, non-veg, anything. But there would be culture where there is strict vegetarianism that is followed. They don't go for a non-vegetarian food. And now, though veganism, it is not a part of any religion, but there are a group of people who follow this veganism. So everything is inculcated from the society that we are living. So behavioral and socio-cultural determinants, it go hand in hand. Uh, it consists of our customs, the lifestyle, and values that we give, and that characterize as a society. The health of an individual depends upon his lifestyle also. For example, if an individual quits smoking, his or her risk to develop CHD is significantly reduced. It's told that within 1 year of quitting smoking, a smoker's chance to develop cancer will be reduced to half. And after 4 or 5 years, the chance of developing lung cancer in a smoker who had quit smoking for 5 years, it will be similar to the chances of a non-smoker to develop a lung cancer. It will become equal. That means you being smoking. Now, when we go to the next section, epidemiology, we are going to explain a lot of things based on this smoking thing, because will see at that time smoking is a very big factor affecting the total health of the person. Alcoholism is not that dangerous, but the total health would be affected by this smoking alone because of the kind of poisons or the chemicals that is being used inside that cigarette. Uh, okay. So, so where were I? So, a person when he quits smoking, that itself can reverse the total health condition. That makes him equal to that of a non-smoker. The risk will reduce like that of a non-smoker. So that's a positive thing, a positive affirmation that we can say to a smoker. Come on, you can you reduce your smoking or you quit your smoking. Your risk of developing lung cancer is going to be that of a non-smoker. The changes are reversible. That itself is a comforting matter. So, some other things are adequate nutrition, enough good sleep, yoga, exercises, meditation, etc. And all these things, especially yoga, exercises, meditation, you all being adult, I don't have to say how much a peer pressure can help us do all these things also. Many diseases of current days, the chronic heart disease, diabetes mellitus, lung cancer, obesity are due to altered lifestyle and hence called as lifestyle diseases. Now, for the environmental determinants, we have external environment and internal environment. Internal environment is within our body, all the organs or parts of the body within the system. And the external environment is what we give, because the internal environment, it will go more towards the physical health. The external environment is what we give importance to. The air we breathe in, its quality. So air pollution, how it can affect, and I don't have to explain you how much air pollution can result in COPD. Water and food quality, waste disposal or sewage disposal, hazardous substances, people who are working with hazardous things. It can be occupational also. Otherwise, the hazardous substances that is being, if the waste is not properly exposed and if it is uh, properly disposed, but if it is kept in an exposed area, the chemicals that might be forming, all those hazardous substances, unsafe public spaces and housing conditions. All these things externally, the external environment can influence our health. Then we have the socio-economic determinants. So countries with lower socio-economic status, the mortality rate increase. It's a simple thing or simple concept. Like I think it is Somalia is one of the I don't know whether it is the most poorest, but anyway, it is one of the most poor country in the world. And if we take the mortality rate is the death rate. Uh, we can see that mortality rate of any disease or due to any disease or any age group will be higher in case of Somalia. So the countries which have a lower socio-economic status, economic status especially the per capita actually, the health status, the mortality rate, the health status will be that low, or which means the mortality, morbidity rate, etc. will be very high. And the socio-economic factors influencing are education, occupation, and income of the individual. Then we have political determinants also. Health is also dependent on a country's political system, like how the resources are allocated, the resource human resources or the manpower policy, choice of appropriate technology, extent to which health services are made available and accessible are determined by a country's political system. So, when we see a disease, we need to consider how politically or the government or the system is supporting that also. Not the developing of that disease, but how to control it. So, these factors, you have a disease, and if you don't have a proper specialist. Suppose it is a very dangerous condition uh, which need a specialized treatment, and the hospital in your area, they don't have that kind of specialization, and because of that, that person is passing away. That is not his fault actually. If this same incident, if it had happened in UK, US, or some European countries where the healthcare system is so advanced, and if this person was living over there, he would have been rescued from that condition. But just because this person belonged to a country in which socioeconomically was also it was lower, but also the government was not in support, the system didn't support, the hospital didn't have much facility, and then the person passed away, then that is a failure of the system, and political determinants come over there. So when we are saying about health or the factors affecting health, even political factors are also very important. Now, the health services, it is the sum total of all the health services available. So, barriers can include lack of availability, high cost, lack of insurance coverage, limited language access, etc., can result in unmet health needs. So, this will be something coming under the societal or the environmental also. But I just kept it outside to indicate the health services. Even this can be coming under the political thing, but health services, whether you have that hospital, if the hospitals are there, but whether there are doctors that is needed, or the specialist doctors are needed, are present or not. And if doctors are also there, it is also not enough. Whether that the life-saving things, like the person need oxygen therapy, specialist doctor is there, but there is no chance of oxygen cylinder, then there is lack of availability. Person is there, that is the doctor, hospital is there, but the thing needed, the oxygen is not there. So health services should also be there, and it should be available. It should be available, it should be accessible. People should be able to travel within a closer distance to access it. The treatment shouldn't be of that cost, or there should be insurance, and there shouldn't be any language barriers. So health services, all these things should be there to maintain a good health, or even these can be a health barrier or factors which influence the health. Now, after going from the determinants of health or how it is affecting, we can go to the concept of well-being. Now, before I go to the concept of well-being, I can say you with an example, the determinants of health. Uh, for example, the most common disease that we say, for example, is actually tuberculosis. Tuberculosis, it is that bacteria, the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, is present almost everywhere. Uh, I don't know whether it is present in UK, but every other low and middle income countries, they are actually having Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It is present widely. And most of the people have grown immune against it. So that is why the symptoms doesn't come out. But they might be having the organism within their body sometimes. It is told that if 10 people harbor the organism within their body, the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, only one among them will be showing the symptoms. All the 9 won't be showing any symptoms. So there is a biological explanation for that, that because the disease is existing from very remote time, the human beings have grown, majority of the human beings have grown immune to that disease. So that is a biological concept or a biological explanation. But when we see it from a different perspective, we can see that tuberculosis or Mycobacterium tuberculosis can't result in um, symptoms of a person if that person is immune status is very nice or he's very healthy. And when we see what we mean by healthy, all these things comes up. Like tuberculosis is never seen in a person who is living in a separate house or a bangla, even not bangla, a separate house, having his own space in the sense of the physical space. He's having his own room, uh, very good food to have, or nourishing food, a healthy lifestyle. They are not going to develop tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is always seen in people who belong to very low socio-economic group. People who are living in slums, especially the urban slum area, where they are overcrowded, where in one room, maybe 7 or 8 people are crammed in. There is no proper ventilation. The people are not able to afford good nourishing food, including fruits or vegetables and other nourishing food. So these are the kind of people in whom the symptoms of mycobacterium or the tuberculosis is going to come out. Uh, as I told earlier, out of 10, only one will be showing that symptoms, and that one will be the person who are belonging to the lower socioeconomic category. But the other 9 will be very healthy, the immune system being strong, the organism will not show its disease. So it is actually how even this simple disease, not the simple disease, is a very complicated disease. It can result in high mortality also. But how this disease, tuberculosis, how it affects the population. It's not just mycobacterium tuberculosis is there, then you are going to have disease though. These factors also should come together. Whatever I told now, the overcrowding, the lack of ventilation, the lack of socio-economic high status or living in a very poor status, all these factors will determine the development of tuberculosis in a person. So that is how we explain what is the importance of these factors or the determinants of health or determinants or the factors on health. Now, going towards the concept of well being, when I was saying the definition of um, health by WHO, we saw that term. It is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well being. And I told you what we will be dealing with. What is this well being meant? So, according to the definition, the well being, when we use that term, it is having two components. One is the objective components, and another is the subjective component. Objective component is what we, as like in case taking, we say objective symptoms and subjective symptoms. Objective is what another person view, and subjective is what the person perceives for himself. So objective components is what we see, what is that person's economic status would be, his standard of life, his level of living, because we are seeing that person's external things. Maybe he's having a wonderful car, or his house is very beautiful, having a corner house or like a bungalow. So that is viewed from outside, the standard of his living, the things when we go to the market or any grocery shops, how that purchase differences being made. From that, we try to analyze or try to judge, which we shouldn't actually, the standard of living and also the level of living. So that is an objective component. But more than that, well-being, it means we should give importance to the subjective components, what the person is feeling about himself, how he considers his quality of life to be. So the quality of life is what comes under subjective component. MCQs can be asked like this: standard of living, where it comes in the concept of well-being. So it is in the objective component, and subjective component comprises of the options will be given. So that subjective components will be quality of life. Like that MCQ may be asked. So when we are, so here we give importance to the subjective component, what the person individually feel and how we will measure that. So the quality of life, there are various index to measure this. Um, 5 of it has been given, but out of those 5, we are going to deal with only the main two, that is PQLI, which is Physical Quality of Life Index, and HDI, Human Development Index. So we see, though we said that this is subjective component, the quality, it shows the quality of life and how that individual perceives himself to be. This is not exactly how we follow the subjective symptoms. In subjective symptoms, of course, we are giving importance to what the person says. That's all the things that is being considered for explaining quality of life here also. We go for what is, there are certain index. The social scientists will be collecting data regarding that three things. There are three things in both the PQLI and HDI. In the next slide, we'll see. They will collect that data and then categorize. Then categorize not individual person but the country as such based on these. So a lot of MCQs can be coming from these two things, HDI and PQLI. Maybe starting from the short forms, like how it is expanded, what are the three factors coming under HDI and PQLI, and also the range and what is over here. So in case of HDI and PQLI, there is similarity and differences. Similarity means both are composite index. Composite index means so many index or certain numbers they are coming together or they are considered together. That is why composite index. So the components in HDI, both are having actually three. Two are similar in both, and one is dissimilar. One is different. So that is why the question always comes. So in HDI, they give importance to longevity or lifespan, the life expectancy, but that longevity is considered at birth, the life expectancy at birth. When we take life expectancy, it is at this particular age, what could be the expected years a person will be living. So I'm born in India at a particular time. So when I was born in that particular year, at that year, what was the social cultural situation of my country? Based on that, at that time of my birth itself, the social scientists could calculate what could be my life expectancy. So when I'm born that year, they will be calculating at this particular year based on the social culture, the social status India was having. I should be having a life expectancy of 60 years. And that will be changing actually, because as the social status of India or the socio-economic status of India is developing, or whatever country that I am living after to that, according to that, my life expectancy may change. But so we can take life expectancy at any time. Usually, this is taken at birth. That can be also taken at the time of conception. The conception when it happened. It can be taken life expectancy at conception. Uh, it can be taken the life expectancy at fifth month of fetal age. The life expectancy at time of birth, expectancy at first year of age, like that it may go, you know. But anyway, in case of HDI, this life expectancy is taken at birth when the infant is born. Whereas in PQLI, the life expectancy is taken at 1 year of age. And why this difference is that we will be coming in epidemiology, this birth and 1 year in between that phase is called as actually infants. You know that the from birth to 1 year we call it as infant, and there is a terminology which will be dealing in the coming up chapter in epidemiology, the infant mortality rate. The term indicates the rate of death in infants. So the children who are born until they are 1 year of age, this is the phase when uh, the infants will be exposed to different kinds of diseases, respiratory infections, GIT infections, malnutrition, and that can result in their death. And it's always told that infant mortality rate is actually the mirror which reflects the health status or the living status or the standard of life of a particular country. So now after this class, if you're just Googling the infant mortality rate of Malaysia and then infant mortality rate of India, infant mortality rate of Sri Lanka, infant mortality rate in UK, of US, and within US also you can see the infant mortality rate among the people who are ethnic over there, um, and also the Africans who are in US. So based on the ethnicity, you'll see that variation, and you can see that the country which is high in socio-economic status, they have got a very low infant mortality when compared to the countries which are socio-economically poorer. Even when you go, I can now just say, because this is a thumb of rule, I could say, like if we are going to compare the infant mortality rate of Malaysia and also India, definitely infant mortality rate of India should be higher. And if you're going to compare the infant mortality rate of Malaysia to Singapore, the Singapore will be having lowest infant mortality rate. So this is like a thumb of rule. The higher the socioeconomic status, the infant mortality rate will be that less. Because the factors which lead to death of the infants, that is better controlled in those countries which have better life status or living conditions when compared to a low socioeconomic conditions. So in PQLI, when they give importance to life expectancy, in PQLI, when they give more importance to the life expectancy at 1 year of age, like after infancy have covered, HDI will be giving more importance at birth. Do you have any problem with this connection? Someone has messaged. Maybe my line is not good. Lenny, are you there now? Or has she gone?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay,
Suddenly I was out there. I don't know why. Then I'm back.
okay. So that is the longevity they give. The second one is okay. The second one is where we have the difference. We go to the third one. So the third one, that is about the knowledge. And knowledge, in case of HDI, they give importance to adult literacy rate and also mean years of schooling, which means, and in PQLI, they are giving only importance to literacy rate. So literacy rate is, it depends upon each country's policy. Like back in India, it means how many people or adults in India are able to read and write a particular language. So a particular language means mostly their mother tongue. So if a person is able to read and also write uh, his or her mother tongue, it is considered, or that person is considered to be literate. So in PQLI, they just take that basic literacy rate, whether you are able to read and write. But when we come towards HDI, it is that composite that is used is knowledge. And that knowledge comprises of two things. There is literacy rate and also mean years of schooling. Mean years of schooling means literacy rate you understood, like even if they have not undergone a proper schooling, if they are given that literacy, each country may be having policy. So in case of India, much of the people who didn't study, they now have this literacy program where a group of people will be going, they will be volunteers fixed by government, and they will be going to each village. So, and then they will be collecting the people who doesn't know to read or write, and then teach them basic, like in my state, teach those alphabets of Malayalam. In Malayalam, there are 56 alphabets. Teach that 56 alphabets, teach them to have a basic reading, not a complicated literature book in Malayalam, but even the story book, if they are able to read it. So that much, 3 or 4 months, they will be giving that training to these people. That is how the literacy is being given. It is not like you have to go through the schooling 1 to 4, nothing like that. But in that is the basic thing considered in PQLI. But in case of HDI, they take that adult literacy rate, but also the current generation who are studying or who are already learned, how much years they have studied and take a average of it. So which means it is not just the basic education that which they consider, but the total education. So it is going to increase if a majority of the people in a country they have done bachelor's, mostly if like 70 to 80 percentage of the people in a country have done bachelor's, definitely the HDI of that thing knowledge is going to go high. Likewise, if the people they have not even completed, majority of the people in a particular country they have not even completed schooling properly, the 10 years of schooling, then their value is going to come down. So that is how knowledge is calculated in HDI. But in PQLI they give importance to education, but not the mean years, not that complicated. Just if those people have a basic education, the literacy rate, that is fine with PQLI. Now, the third, in this two, longevity and knowledge or education, we see that both factors are there or both index are there in HDI and PQLI, but the way in both are considered is different. Though there is longevity, HDI is considering at birth, and in case of longevity in PQLI, they are taking it at infancy. Then, though there is education given importance in HDI, it is literacy rate plus mean years of schooling. So, as the educational level of the majority of the population of that particular country increases, and these values are actually given for a country, okay, for a country. So, likewise, the HDI level will be increasing for the factor or the index knowledge. And PQLI, it is the basic minimum literacy rate only considered. The third one, it's totally different for HDI and PQLI. HDI, they give importance to income. So the GDP or gross domestic product, the purchasing power parity with US dollars. I really don't know how to explain these economic terms, but in short, the income or the per capita income that is being made by an individual. So that determines. Obviously, you can make always a comparison with your neighboring country, that is Singapore. And I have seen certain documents where it is always told that Malaysians think Singapore to be everything in tripled. Because one Malaysian ringgit, I think it is tripled in US Singapore dollars. So everything have to be tripled when you are thinking about. So the same thing, that difference, the tripling nature, that difference will be considered in case of HDI, where the income is given importance. And in PQLI, this income or GDP is not given important, but it is the infant mortality rate that is given. So, though now here, if you see, in case of PQLI, they were given the life expectancy at 1 year of age. But then they have given importance to what happened to that birth to 1 year period. That is, infant mortality rate is also given over here, but they didn't give importance to the income. Uh, so the range, so this will be the questions. A lot of MCQs could be asked from this part, like confusing, like longevity at birth or life expectancy at birth is the index of dash, or infant mortality rate is the index used for dash. Like that, they can, the questions may be asked confusing from here itself. So you should be sure what is the index and what is the difference between these index in these two things. Then the range, HDI is always put in a range of 0 to 1 and PQLI 0 to 100. So in Malaysia, this is the value. You can compare for other countries also. And yeah, there was one thing, PQLI. PQLI, because the income is not considered over here, even if a particular place is not that economically developed, not so socio-economically well developed, they can have a high value PQLI. For example, I come from the state Kerala in India. So in Kerala, we do have a very high literacy rate. The literacy rate in Kerala is almost 100%, not exactly, but like 95 or 97%. So it is considered almost 100%. So because our literacy rate is very high, and also the health, I won't say it is as far as like that of UK, US, etc. But because this value literacy rate is very high for us, for our state, when we take the PQLI of Kerala, it is almost similar to that of a developed country like UK or US. Because and it is not that Kerala is equal to US or UK in every other manner, but the thing was here the income status is not considered. If income status was considered, obviously Kerala will be placed somewhere behind. But because the income factor was not taken here, and these factors, and Kerala is very high in the literacy rate, it stands. You can just Google and see the PQLI of Kerala is almost in par with other developed countries. Now about concept of disease. So that is with the health. We saw the health, the different terms, including the concept, the definition, determinants, dimensions. We also saw about positive health, the 4 factors coming over there. And then the well-being, the HDI and PQLI. Now we go towards disease. So WHO had not defined disease as like it had defined health. And there are various reasons for that. Disease is having a spectrum. It is similar to that of the health also, but disease spectrum is more obvious than that of a health spectrum. In health, we don't know whether the person is in a positive health or better health or a average health or something. But we always get to know whether the person, or something is happening emotionally or not, we will really never understand. But that becomes obviously only when the symptom starts to appear. So that becomes a disease state, a physically disease state. So when we go for the spectrum, where is the spectrum? This is the spectrum of disease, which starts with the subclinical infection, where the symptoms are not obvious. When the symptoms are obvious, that is the clinical infection, mild illness, severe illness, and death. The same spectrum of health, the other half of it, when symptoms starts to develop. This is the spectrum of disease. So this is more obvious in case of disease rather than health. So because of this spectrum, or different layers of disease, WHO was not able to explain or give the definition of disease. And another one is onset of a disease. It can be acute or insidious. A diseased person may look apparently healthy, but may be spreading infection like a carrier. So the carriers, they don't show any symptoms, disease symptoms, but they would be able to spread the disease to other people. And we should be extremely cautious about these people who are able to spread infection. Even COVID-19, we had to sit in our home itself, or the lockdown was brought because we didn't know who were having symptoms, from where we were getting infection. We are not able to trace that. So sometimes the people look apparently healthy, or they may be in the incubation stage, or they may be in the latent stage, or they may be also in the convalescent stage when they're spreading this infection. So a diseased person, when we say that he's not having any symptoms, doesn't mean that he is disease free. He may be capable of spreading the infection or being a carrier. And carrier doesn't mean that he doesn't have disease. He's actually having a disease, only the symptoms are not shown. But he's having the disease. The organism, according to their concept, is present in him. And if we come to the homeopathic point, the miasma is lurking inside him. Can't say that he is disease free. The same pathogen may sometimes cause more than one disease. Streptococci, it can cause many type of diseases. And one same disease may be caused by more than one organism. The causative organisms for diarrhea, Vibrio cholerae, typhoid, salmonella, then botulism, not botulism, then paratyphi. A lot of organisms can result in diarrhea. So this being another factor, the onset is not clear. People who don't show symptom doesn't mean that they are healthy. They can be disease. It's just they are not showing any symptoms. Then the same organism can cause many diseases. One disease can be caused by many organisms. Then there is a difficulty to demarcate between normal and abnormal states. For example, in some diseases like hypertension, diabetes, mental illness, etc. And when we go hypertension, we say in an adult, not just adult, in a younger age, like from 20 to 50 years around, a BP of 140/90 is considered to be a hypertension. 140/90. But once you cross 50 years, actually the elasticity of the blood vessels will be decreasing. So at that time, physiologically, the blood pressure will be increasing. So 50 plus a person is showing 140/90, we consider it as a normal. So the same value of blood pressure at a particular age is considered to be abnormal or hypertensive, and after a particular age, it is considered to be normal. So there is no clear demarcation. The same about diabetes. Diabetes in the sense, not exactly similar, but still, we have a category, gestational diabetes, or the diabetes that is developed during the pregnancy period. If you go for the value of the blood sugar during the gestational diabetes, it is much varied when compared to the diabetes which is seen otherwise, which is non-gestational actually. So the value changes according to some situation, and mental illness, we really can't demarcate whether the person is normal or abnormal. Like if it is a pronounced case of schizophrenia, yeah. Otherwise, even normal looking or apparently normal looking person can also be psychologically affected. We can never demarcate. And endpoint of the disease is variable. Either he can be cured or he may become disabled or the ultimate death. So because of these various perspectives or various viewpoints for disease, um, various factors, not factors actually, various dimensions I can say, I don't know how to say, these things or views of the diseases, it was not, it was not, WHO was not able to explain or give a proper definition for health. Even though they made a definition for health, they had to undergo a lot of criticizing just because they use the term health is a state of. Only with that phrase, they had to go through all the criticizing. And diseases, when it has got this much differences or this much viewpoints, then it was very difficult to put a clear-cut definition for diseases. But still, social scientists have tried to explain or give some explanation for the terms. And here they use the term disease, illness, and sickness. What is the difference between these three terms? Even this may be asked as an MCQ. So, disease, which literally means without ease. Disease or dis is opposite, and ease is comfort. So, opposite of comfort or health, that is disease. That's what they meant. Or when something is wrong with bodily function, that is disease. And then we have illness. It is illness with one step ahead of disease. So here there is not only the presence of disease, that there is something abnormality with the body function, but also individual's perception and behavior in response to that. So disease just means there is some abnormality in the function of the body. It is exact opposite of being comfort or being in health. To that altered body function, if the person is going to react or respond, his perceptions and behavior, along with that altered body function, it comes illness. And sickness means there is a, because of this disease and his altered behavior or perception, if some of the activity in the society he is not able to do, he is not being so functional within that societal group, it is termed as sickness. So for example, disease is a physiological or psychological dysfunction of the body. So if you have some alteration in the body, for example, um, a person who had undergone a road traffic accident and he might have lost, just imagine, he lost one of his hand, just imagine. So that will be a disease condition. He had lost, it is a dysfunction of the body or even loss of a body part or some loss of body function. We won't go to that maximum, we'll just imagine, we'll come to a little bit lesser. Imagine in a road traffic accident, he lost his ability to hear. He lost his ability to hear. So, disease means even there is an alteration of or a dysfunction of the body. So, he lost his ability of hearing, or one of the special sense has been lost, which means he is having disease. And when it is combined with a subjective feeling, like when the person is not having that hearing sensation, he will be getting anger, irritable. You know, the subjective sensations comes up, like people are talking and he is not able to hear it. And imagine that he had lost it after when he had. Maybe people who born with that disease, they will be able to adjust very easily. But those people who had it and after a road traffic accident they lost it, or some other disease came and they lost it, or due to some surgery they lost it, they will be very much, their response, their reaction to that particular disease will be very varied. They'll be very anger, very depressed, a kind of apathy. We can't say what will be the reaction of that person. So this disease, that is the loss of hearing power, plus a subjective sensation or the perception or the behavior of the person to that disease, that comes under illness. And sickness means because he is not able to hear well, uh, maybe that person's biggest aspiration from his childhood was to enter into army. Just imagine that person always wanted to be a part of army, police, or something. And for the people who have to get into this job, they have to be physically very fit. And just because he lost that, he's not able to do his societal role or what he wanted to do. His aspiration is not being fulfilled. So social dysfunction is there. That is termed as a sickness, where he is unable to perform his societal role. This is what I told about aspiration, or it can be even very lesser form, like because he is not hearing properly, he's not able even to attend some social events. Social events in the sense, okay, now you can think me, there can be hearing aids also. That is because I reduce the disease. Imagine a case when the person has actually lost one of his limb or two of his limb and he's not able to afford a prosthetic. So then he won't be able to attend a social ceremony. He or she may be feeling like, whenever I'm using this he gender, please don't mistake, it's by out of practice it's coming. Of course, it includes both the gender. So he or she may be feeling like a societal outcast, or she's not being included in that part, and they try to avoid that. So they're not able to do that social function, then that is called as sickness. But now this is actually the textbook based differences. But in our local, in our local language, or the way we communicate, casually we speak, we interchange these terms. Sometimes we use disease in the same essay. When we are writing a essay, it is always told that use synonyms. So when we then we change into always we are saying disease in one paragraph, okay, the next paragraph you'll use the term illness and then sickness, because we need to have these synonyms. So we go right these different terms, we use it interchangeably in conversation also. But actually, text based, there are differences between these three terms. Then theories of disease causation. When a disease is being caused, there are various theories that has been put forward. Now, this also can be asked as a long essay questions. What are the theories of disease causation? So we have some older theories, we have some middle period theories, and now we have some advanced theories. So from the older theories, all the history in history of medicine, whatever we told that comes starting with the supernatural theory. I have not put a explanation, but when it is asked for an essay, you need to put from your previous slides what you have studied over this. The supernatural theory is nothing. The ancient civilizations, they believe that the diseases are caused due to some sins that the person have committed. It is caused due to some supernatural causes, God's punishment or demon's activity. So that kind of mystic belief, that is called as the supernatural theory of diseases. Disease is caused due to the sins that is committed by a person. Moving from there, we have the Ayurveda, which is the concept or the treatment therapeutic medicine that was followed in India. And Ayurveda, it always believed in the balance of three factors, which they call as Tridosha, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And Vata means air, Pitta, which means bile, and Kapha, which means mucus. So they believe that an equilibrium between these three factors, or excess of one or deficiency of one, it can result in disease. So not exactly same, but we can compare this to our trimycin, psoriasis, syphilis, and psychosis. That is our belief, though I have not put it over here because when it comes, I always say you, when we are dealing with social and preventive medicine, the epidemiology, though many of these things Hahnemann have already put in his literature, we sometimes have to stick to what this book is saying. Most of it, yeah, Hahnemann have also put it in. There is book in which Hahnemann has mentioned about hygiene. I don't remember the textbook. People who take organon of medicine should be able to explain you. There is one book of Hahnemann which we don't study actually, but it's the in which he mentions about hygiene, and that book is actually saying about all this social and preventive medicine part. Uh, but the thing is, we are supposed to learn what WHO says, all those things, and that actually becomes a difference. What you learn in homeopathy and what you learn over here, both are same in a way, but I can't combine those factors. That is the thing over here. Most of the things. Though here later parts I'm saying how the concept of health and disease is covered in homeopathy also. But when it comes to the theories of disease causation, in the textbook they have not included the trimiasmatic theory, so I can't put it over there. So that is why I have not done. So yeah, so Ayurveda is the, but I don't mind. I don't mind if you write in my answer paper this thing, because in the PPT I can't put it like this may be restricted with you or this may be shared. I really don't know what might happen, the fate of this PPT. But in the PPT, if it is getting shared and then I have put something extra which is not the in the proper textbook, because we actually follow a textbook for this topic, the social and preventive medicine of Park. I don't know, have you seen that textbook? It's over here. And whenever we are dealing with that subject, we are not supposed to follow any other book. This is considered to be the, yeah, I hope you can see this. This is the textbook, the social and preventive medicine. Everything that I say in this portion, I'm not supposed to cross outside this book. That is why. So anyway, in your answer sheet, which I am going to see only, I don't mind if you put a trimiasmatic theory. Okay, so coming back in Ayurveda, they have the three doshas like us. So anything increased or decreased, it will cause the disease. That's what they believe. And in Chinese medicine, the traditional Chinese medicine, there is a belief of a uh, male and female uh, power, I could say, or energy. Energy will be the correct word. And Chinese, they have given those name, that energy, uh, female and male gender, yin and yang. Yin representing the feminine gender and yang representing the male gender. It is not like female disease or male disease, nothing of that sort. Within the human being, they have classified that there is a feminine energy and then there is a male energy and their equilibrium and how the imbalance can result in disease. Well, beyond this, it doesn't know. I mean, I don't know about Chinese medicine, how to explain that. I only know that they believe in this such yin yang principle. Then in Greek medicine, they have the four humors or the fluid based, the blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. What is their imbalance can result in disease. So these were the theories of diseases, their causation, how the disease developed in the ancient period. And now going towards the medieval period or the scientific development when they have started happening, we starts with the germ theory of the disease. The proponent being Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch. So here the disease causation, as like we saw in the history, the disease causation shifted from empirical causes like miasma, bad air, to old theories of older theories to microbes of germ theory. Like microorganisms are the real causations of disease. This concept gained momentum during the 19th and early 20th century. The disease model is in a single linear manner, that there is a disease agent, probably a germ, a microorganism. There is a man, so the disease agent, which is a microorganism, infects the man, and that results in a disease. So this was a linear one, a single dimensional one, one directional or unidirectional. But this was a belief that happened, that was in 19th and early 20th century. Even now, you know, it is not this one way or a single direction. It's not that simple. So, however, in the latter part of the 20th century, it was recognized that a disease is rarely caused by a single agent, but depends on many contributory factors. For example, TB. And I have told you how TB met. So when people understood that it is not this unidirectional, or in a single manner, it is not a disease agent, man or disease. It is not such simple or linear direction. They developed another one, which is called as the epidemiological triad. And even now, when we learn epidemiology, we will be seeing factors under three categories: environment, agent, and host. So these three factors constitute the epidemiological triad, the three factors. So here we need to have agent, here we need to have an environment, and then a host. So what's the difference between this picture and the earlier one is, here it was linear, unidirectional. Agent is the, then a man. They didn't give importance to environment. So that environment importance that was covered over here. And it also meant that this is not unidirectional as told in the germ theory, but it is a double direction. So though it is like a triangle I have drawn, and I have not put any arrows over there because it is always drawn like this as like a triangle. And this triangle, it indicates it can move in either direction. So that's the meaning. So even if we don't draw a arrow in both direction, it is already understood or already considered that the arrows are moving in both directions. So agent is influencing environment, environment is influencing agent. Likewise, agent to host, host to agent, and host to environment, environment to host. So it is this three factors coming together in a particular ratio or equilibrium that being affected, which results in the disease. So this was one of the modern concept, not exactly modern, but when it was shifting from the germ theory, Had the more importance one. And though we say the germ theory was like the disease causing, it's not as simple as this, or it is not a unidirectional. Still, we give importance to germ theory of disease because earlier to that, people believed in a supernatural theory, or this a mathematic, or the yin yang theory, or even this uh, Greek Greek medicines theory. Hippocrates, who is considered to be the father of medicine, he belonged to the Greek actually. So they believed in four humors, and when we see, we understand the current era. We understand what is blood, what is phlegm, what is yellow bile, but what is black bile. We don't know what is black bile. We don't. We physiologically we don't know anything like what is black bile. So what did they mean by black bile? If we go and take that literature, we'll get an explanation what did they mean by black bile. But we won't be able to explain it in our current knowledge, the current physiological knowledge. We don't have a component like um, black bile. So from that concept, from that extremely primitive concept, a break to the scientific world was brought by this germ theory of disease. So that is the importance. It is like a bridge between the ancient and the modern concept. That is the importance of germ theory of disease. Though this is not enough, this is not, the disease development is not a single direction or plain one, as like this germ theory of disease is saying. But because it was breaking that older concept from that supernatural to scientific concept, like accepting there is a microorganism behind the development of a disease, that itself was a change from that supernatural concept. So this is why we give importance to germ theory of disease. And then they understood that it is not linear, and another factor, environment has also to introduce, and the social scientists or the epidemiologists who were learning about this public health community medicine, they introduced this epidemiological triad, where the importance was given to environment, and also the direction is in, I mean, it is not a unidirection, but it is an interaction between all the three factors. Then came the term the triangle of epidemiology. So notice how the words are changing. Here it was triad, and here now the term has become triangle. So even when MCQs are asked, confusing MCQs may be asked based on this triad triangle. So when you're learning, you need to give importance what is a triad and what is a triangle. And when you see the time, I mean, the new thing that have got introduced over here is time. Don't bother about the positions, like here environment is on top and here the position have changed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the position of agent, host, or environment is there, because it is interacting. It is both direction is there. So it really doesn't matter where is the position of agent, host, and environment. But these are the three corners of the triangle, and the new thing that got introduced was time. So that is the difference between triad and triangle. In triad, there is no dimension or no factor like time, but that is given importance in triangle. So when time got added, that epidemiological triad, it became the triangle of epidemiology. So why they introduced the term time? And this was to explain the diseases which are infectious in nature and also epidemic in nature. Because in this case, when scientists were trying to explain the disease based on this. Now, what is the importance? Now, what you're learning is just the concept, how it is being applied, like the theory. Only the theory you're learning. But when once you start studying its application, that will be in the second and the third uh, topics that will be dealing in this, the epidemiology, then you will understand how this agent, environment, host we consider in case of a disease. Um, Sorry. So when they were going to explain a disease, they saw that they were not able to explain infectious diseases, especially of a important pathology or very epidemic in nature. Epidemic, sudden increase of a disease. They were not able to explain this based on a time factor. Uh, so that is why they included, because to explain epidemic condition, they had to include that factor of time. When we say a disease is epidemic, it means in a very short gap, the number of that disease should be increasing, or the death caused due to that disease should be increasing. And there is a time period for that. We can't call a disease to be epidemic if there is no time factor. We see that there is a sudden increase of a particular disease in 2 days. Then we say it is an epidemic, or even 1 day. I mean, we always need to give importance to that time factor. Without time factor, we can't say whether a disease is an epidemic or pandemic. We can't say. So when they found out this triad was not able to explain those diseases which are epidemic in nature, for that a time factor is required. They introduced the time factor also, and then because this change has been brought, they started calling it as a epidemiology of triangle. This is the introduction of time factor to explain mainly infectious disease of epidemic nature. Multifactorial causation and the other thing, it mainly explains what is that? The chronic diseases, exactly not chronic diseases, but some infectious diseases like TB also can come over there. But the theory of multifactorial causations comes over there. I think we'll stop over here for today. Okay, someone, have you taken screenshot? Actually, we have not reached 2 hours yet. 10 minutes more is remaining. You want me to continue, or I stop over here? Your wish.
We have class at 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, then we.
Yeah. So maybe we we need to
No problem.
time to have
No
lunch.
problem.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Dr. Mira, later the recording, if you can download, then easy to share separately.
Did I stop recording? No, I
Not yet.
didn't.
Yeah.
How to stop it?
There should be a stop recordings.
Encryption
Oh.
status. I see encryption status. Stop recording. I don't know. I don't know. Is it to click in the more? And
Or
then I go
maybe,
to
yeah, just try to
record and
hover,
transcribe.
or try to hover on the recording button. I'm not sure if that helps.
Yeah, can you see?
Still recording.
Yeah. Yeah, stop recording.
Okay.
Okay, stop.